What's going on, Average Joes? As you can see, I am no longer in my office in my studio. We are staying in a hotel, as I alluded to before in a past video on our moving. So this is just going to be how my recording is going to be going on from now on. But today I wanted to talk about some of the things that I learned about myself in 2021. And this will be whether it's mostly book preferences, some other things, maybe a channel thing here and there. But that's all I'm going to talk about today. And hopefully my mic level and everything like that is fine. I mean, I'm in a pretty echoey hotel room, and I'm just working with what I got. And honestly, like that's like a segue into what my first one is. But before I get into that, thanks everyone for coming around, for liking and subscribing. A lot of new people just dropped in. Thanks to Madison. Shout out on my recent video. So thanks, Madison, for that, and everybody that's come and checked out my videos and subscribed. Typically, I try and post every Sunday and Wednesday, but now because of this move going on, I think I'm only going to be coming out with one video a week because just time and having to record in crazy places and hotels, and it's going to be like that for at least another month. So I'll still come out with a weekly video. I have a few lined up, but just not as many as before. But either way, there's a ton to go back to. I've been published. I've kept to a tube video a week schedule for the longest time, but just right now it's just not quite feasible. But anyway, thanks again for liking, subscribing. If you are new, I've got a lot of plans for some new content, and especially geared toward newer people coming in 2022. And then I also have a buddy read that is going to be happening as well for the Priest of Bone. That's book one. I can't remember what the series is called, but that's going to be happening possibly in March. I think I just need to decide on that. But okay, what did I learn about myself in 2021? So I guess the first one that I was segueing to is that I don't like to half-ass production on my videos. It's really frustrating when I have poor sound quality or poor lighting or anything that's just subpar quality to me. Having some knowledge in camera and podcasting and things like that, I don't like to half-ass it. If the quality's not going to be up to par, then I try. Sometimes I just won't even record it, which is why whenever I go travel, like when I went back and traveled this past 2 weeks, I record a ton of videos ahead of time so that I can record in that same quality, and then I just schedule them out. So it's like very taxing for a while because I'm recording like 4 or 5 videos a week and scheduling them out so far. But I would rather do that than to be recording like this. But sometimes things happen, and I think I just have to realize that that's just how it's going to go, and still focus more on other content and quality anyway. And because of this whole situation, I might try and do a vlog just because that's kind of a natural thing. We'll see how that goes. Haven't really done any kind of reading vlog, especially because I'm not reading a ton right now. But we'll see. So yeah, that's the first thing that I think I've learned about myself, is that I just don't like half-assing the quality of my videos. Now getting into some bookish stuff. The first one I'll mention kind of surprised me, and that is that I think I prefer horror over thriller. And when it gets to the horror, thriller, and mystery, I made a video that compares mystery and thriller a while back. I'll try and link above. But with horror, I never really experimented with it, and the lines can kind of blur because they are a lot of suspense. There are usually exists in the world that we are in, like the world that we know. Horror elements can vary because either like there's suspense, you can't really have that much of a startle horror. There's like creepy, there's gory. What I talked about in my previous video and why I think I like horror more than thriller is I definitely love mysteries and murder mysteries, and mysteries and murder mysteries are very much plot focused. Thrillers are very much character focused or character driven. So what I mean by that is mysteries, the entire thing that drives the plot is the mystery that you're trying to solve. The murder, whatever, the kidnapping, the mystery trying to solve is plot focused. Thrillers, typically what drives a thriller is the protagonist and how terrible of a person they are, or a terrible person that they know that they're being put through. It's usually the character that is driving the plot and the suspense and everything. Horror can have a mix of those two, but from what I've read, I mean, I haven't read that many, it's much more on the plot. So like you have the normal characters that are going through something, but there's some other kind of force at work against these characters, and they have to get through it. They either have to figure out what's going on, they have to find a solution, or just get through it and survive. So that's why I think horror is more in line with the mystery side, because it's much more plot focused. And I think that I've definitely become more plot focused to realizing that. And just like thrillers can be much hit or miss for me, because when you just have a terrible person that's a pathological liar driving a story, and like it might make an unreliable narrator or something, I just hate it at the end. I have several thrillers that I've read that I kind of want to rant about down the road. I just want to stack up some more first. But yeah, so I think surprisingly horror, I've been avoiding reading horror for a long time, because I've never been in, I really don't like horror movies, but I think horror books are going to be much more for me, because so far I've done really well in the horror genre. Granted, I haven't read very many, so it makes me optimistic to read more horror going forward. Now I know Leslie keeps on laughing at me because I keep pushing down the road Patience of a Dead Man, and how it just freaked, like Mildred, I think, just freaks me out. I will get to it. It's going to happen soon. I just have a whole lot of other books going on anyway. So horror, I think I prefer to thriller. Next one to get into some reading is that I found classics do not jive with me. I do not go well with classics or older books. They're a bit of a miss. I think anything that's older than 50 years, written 50 years ago, or even like before the 80s, it's just a miss for me. The writing styles are completely different. It seems that they have much longer descriptive prose, or they take some detours here and there. It's not necessarily always character focused, but they really try and I want to say take up your time with a longer story, and just like there seems to be a lot more unnecessary detail and prose, and most of the classics or things that I've read can just be shortened down so much more. Feels like a lot of fluff to me, but I get it that that's part of the writing style and the time periods, and whether they were, I think even if it's fantasy, they were still like the literary influences that these writers were having, and with that time period that would appeal to the people who read back then. So I get that. So I'm not saying anything about them being bad books. It's just classics don't work for me. Now I do plan on still trying to read classics, because I like to have that knowledge under my belt. I like to be able to actually like talk to people about some of the classics that are so popular and that everybody reads, but I just might not enjoy them that much. I do like to challenge myself still. I'm always trying to grow, trying to try new things. That's why I also read a lot of nonfiction, but the classics I just don't mesh too well with. And I think going forward, how I treat my reviews or recaps of them, I'm going to have to put it in that lens to where, I know this isn't for me, but I'm just going to share some of my thoughts and maybe even some frustrations. I'm not going to like tailor my views and my opinions just because I didn't like it because it's a classic, but I will try and put it in a better context, because I just know classics don't work for me. We keep it along the same lines. This is kind of like I guess this would be like a 3B or a 2B, whatever, is that lengthy prose and long descriptions take me out of a story. So if you're going to build a world and have all of these side things and like tell me about the history of this and take 4 pages to describe a garden or anything like that, it needs to be woven into a story. Like if you're going to tell me every single thing about these plants in this garden and the history of the entire garden and all these things, make it relevant to why it's even happening in the story. Make it so that the main character is actually walking along and like in a conversation, and then like looking and like getting a history of the story, not just like basically lengthy prose. What I've said in the past is just an info dump of the author has this world and these things that he wants to tell you about, and he's just going to throw it into a very literary poetic style, and it might appeal to some people, but to me it's just dumping a whole bunch of stuff that they wanted to tell you about the world and what's going on, and not actually woven into a story. So those don't really drive well with me. Again, I need some sort of plot ties to basically everything that I'm learning that about myself, that I'm much more plot focused. I do still need and like good characters. I still need that, but I think there still has to be a plot ties and reasons to it all, or else I'm just kind of taken out of the story. I'm distracted, total ADD moments to where it's like, well, I don't think any of this, none of this feels like it actually matters. You're just telling me a bunch of stuff. So another one, this shouldn't be a surprise, and it's kind of like tooting my own not to my own horn, but my own videos and content, is that Kindle Unlimited reads are fantastic. There are so many good ones out there, and I mean, even when I first started this year, I was like, okay, for the next 30 or 60 days, I'm just going to read a bunch of Kindle Unlimited books because I have some that I know that I want to get to. And I didn't even cancel it until a couple of weeks ago, and that's only because I plan on, typically when you cancel Kindle Unlimited, you either get like an offer just for you, or if you go to sign back up, you can get like either a discounted trial or a longer period, something like that. So I'm basically just doing it to save some money. But I can limit it for most of the year because so many more books came out, and that I discovered that I just really want to read. All these self-published authors are coming out with them. If you looked at the SPFBO, I always get those wrong. If you looked at those books, pretty much all of those are on Kindle Unlimited. I just had a video a couple weeks ago, which I'll try and link as well, on my Kindle Unlimited wish list, which is pretty long, and a lot of them are series. So there are so many awesome reads on Kindle Unlimited. I think just knowing that, I'm definitely going to be probably going to be looking into these longer term, like 6-12 month Kindle Unlimited memberships, because it'll save money over time, and I just like the ability to read some of those, constantly adding authors' books onto my lists. So if you want to check out Kindle Unlimited, I have several videos on it. I'm going to come out with a new one soon on everything you need to know about Kindle Unlimited. But you don't even need a Kindle. You don't even need to read digital. But even just the self-published authors that are on Kindle Unlimited, you can just buy their physical books, and there's just such a good variety on there. So whether you have Kindle Unlimited or not, check out those, because there's so much good quality coming out on there. I think a lot of times, because something with Amazon and the internet in general, is that a lot of people are straying away from publishers because they just want to write what they want. They don't want somebody else looking over their shoulder telling them to change too many things. And while it can be great for money wise and getting your books out there, I think a lot of people are just like, no, I'm just going to do this on my own. Something else I learned about myself this year, and that is book to show or movie adaptations, I really don't care about. I'm so far behind on shows. Like in the past, we used to watch shows pretty regularly, but now, well, for starters, being in Bahrain, we've only had access to the local Netflix here, which has a lot of stuff on it. But we had to like hijack our internet in order to get Hulu, and it kept on going out and getting messed up with the VPN. Can't get Prime. We can't get all these. Disney Plus is always a pain. It will work sometimes. So basically, we're just really, really far behind on shows in general. And like, I started to learn that I just really don't care. I never finished the Witcher series, but I know I need to. I want to. Wheel of Time, I could care less about the show or the books for right now. I'll catch up down the road. I know that's pretty much all the content coming out recently, but it was just like, nope, I don't care about any of this stuff happening. Any of the shows or books content, hey, I'll get to it when I get to it if it happens. I don't really care about keeping up with current shows, current events in that space. I'll get to it. Yeah. So show adaptations, I don't care that much. Does not affect me. I don't get FOMO when it comes to that. I mean, even with book releases come out and like these new hot series that everybody's reading, I just do my own thing. I march to the beat of my own drum. And that's, do whatever I feel like I'm in the mood for. There might be a couple of shows that I want to get into at some point, but I'm in no rush. The shows will be there. Those books will always be there. I just do what you want. That's kind of what I'm saying. Next one, I think this might be my last one, unless I think of something else. And that is, I like buddy reads more than I thought I would. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't like them, but in the past, I've never done any buddy reads. Like, people would read them, and I've always been like, well, if I feel like just binging the series, I'm just going to do it. Or if I don't feel like reading that one this month, then I'm not going to do it. So I like having buddy reads because I can stick to a schedule. I can talk to them about it. The Shadow of the Apple one on Alan's channel was fantastic. I did 2 of his live streams. That was a lot of fun. That's something that I definitely want to do more of, whether it's just buddy reads or some of the live stream talks. We'll be able to do that much easier when we're back in the States. So I think I want to do more buddy reads. I'm going to host my own buddy read for the Priest of Bones series. Again, can't remember what the series is called, but we're going to be doing that on my channel. But also with buddy reads is that I like to make sure I space them out. I spaced out a few throughout the year, and then toward the end of the year, it was like, yeah, I'm going to do Shadow of the App. Okay, yeah, I need to do the Senlin read along going up to it. Yeah, I need to do this other read along. It was like I think it was Hyperion. So I was doing like 3 at once, and I read them, but I didn't participate as much as I maybe should have. So I think keeping to one, maybe two a month, depending on, if it was just like a one-off book instead of like two series at once. Doing that, I think, would be best, because if not, then that's like half my month of reading right there sometimes, depending on how the length the book is. So basically, do more buddy reads, but space them out is what I'm getting at. I'll pick a priority one that I want to do. So the one that I'm going to host will be probably the top priority, but I still would like to do, another ones for other communities, because I don't plan on starting a Discord. So it'll be a little bit different. I guess the last thing that I'll end on is that that I kind of learned is that reading plans are meant to be broken. And what I mean by that is, it's great to have a plan. It's great to have an idea. It's great to have a loose outline, but you should just ultimately do what you want when you want it and read what you want, because it's all about enjoyment. And I touched on this in a previous video, that you don't need to do better with reading. And I have my priority reading tiers for the year, and I try to stick to as much as possible, and take out the top ones first. But it alters so much, and I did not care that half the books that were on the last year's list I didn't even get to, because I still got a lot of my priority ones done. And I think the reading should just be a constantly flowing. So you don't need to have these hard plans. And if you don't get to some of the books that you can't read, that's fine. Reading should just always grow and change, and just do what you want, read what you want when you want it. Reading plans are meant to be broken, essentially. So that is what I learned about myself in 2021. What are some things you learned about your reading yourself, whether it's reading in general, productivity, anything? What did you learn, some things about your habits, your reading yourself in 2021? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you in another video soon.